Let's get something out of the way really quickly. To the group of people saying that Jeepers Creepers Reborn is absolute garbage and one of the worst movies they've ever seen, you haven't seen Hellraiser Revelations. I'm here tonight to give you guys my instant reaction right out of the theater from Jeepers Creepers Reborn. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen videos, seen hot takes on social media the past 2 days. People have been seeing it and have they had their opinions. Well, now is time for me to give you mine. So first off, let me just say, super thrilled that Victor Salva is no longer associated with this property in any way, shape, or form. So if you guys feel like you can't go see it or you feel icky about going and seeing it, don't feel that way. The dude is gone, completely out of the picture. Go see this movie if you want to. It's a totally fresh take on the Creeper, for good or bad. That's for you to decide. Also, I think it is cool that we got a new one. You know, this franchise has really languished for the past 20 years since Jeepers Creepers 2. For good reason. There's a lot of stigma there. There's a lot of ickiness there. So it's really languished, and we really haven't gotten to see a big budget, serious Jeepers Creepers movie since then, and I would say we still haven't. I'll get into my thoughts about Reborn, but again, it is a low budget movie that just feels like there was a lot there that just couldn't be realized. But I digress. Let's get into the plot for Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Creepers Reborn follows a couple, Lane and Chase, I believe his name is. And Chase is a big horror nerd, like all of us. And he's headed to Horror Hound Weekend, and he's taking his girlfriend with him. And in this universe, Jeepers Creepers is a movie. You know, the first three movies, those are movies. And it's like meta in that way of like the Creeper is this icon in the horror world. And people are like, oh my God, the Creeper is such a cool story, but he's not real, you know, whatever. And they go to Horror Hound, and there's this event at Horror Hound that's like a raffle. If you win, you can do an escape room in the Creeper house. And like, oh, so cool, great. Well, obviously the Creeper is there, and the Creeper starts killing people. That's pretty much the plot of the movie. Like, there really isn't much there. There's side plots here and whatnot throughout the movie, but that's the main plot. So first and foremost, before people lambast me, I'm going to go ahead and get the negatives out there right away, because if you haven't clicked off yet, you're waiting for the negatives. Well, here they are. There are some really bad green screen in this movie. I mean, there's scenes where people are getting out of a car to go out to the woods or go do this or go do that, and it's just like just obviously awful green screen. I get it. This was shot during the peak of COVID. It was a low budget, you know, and it was they were limited with what they could do, but it's really noticeable, especially in the third act of the movie outside the house. Some really bad green screen. There's some bad CGI. This white crow is particularly bad. The swarm of crows isn't really as bad because there's so much going on there and it's so busy. It is what it is, but when it's in front of the backdrop of a green screen, it definitely does look bad. But the white crow is definitely pretty bad. There's some dumb characters in this movie that really serve no purpose, and they're not particularly well acted, but it is what it is. I mean, you know, low budget horror movie, fourth movie in a horror franchise. What are you going to do? Like, that's going to happen. You're going to have characters like that. And there's the overall look of the Creeper is very just like, there's some cool shots. There's specifically a shot where he breaks in the window of the attic in the house and smiles, and it's a close-up on his face, and that looked so good. But then a lot of the time, unless it's like a really close-up of his face, you can tell they're doing as little as possible with the makeup, and it just kind of stands out like a sore thumb. It doesn't really look too good. I don't like the chest piece. It kind of looked cheap. There's some cool new features to the Creeper, but a lot of it is just like, I would rather go with the original look. Having said that, there are some scenes where it looks passable. The teeth look good, and there's some nice bits of character in there, but overall the Creeper is just kind of, I wouldn't say bland, but nowhere near what Jonathan Breck was. Having said that, though, there are some cool moments of personality with the Creeper. He breaks through a door and smiles and waves, like, you know, kind of Creeper-esque. There's some cool moments, so it's not all bad. Like, I would really just say it's a wash. Cool moments, iffy look, whatever. It's fine, but it's no Jonathan Breck. Now let's get into the positives of the movie, because there are a few that I want to talk about. First of all, I kind of really enjoyed Chase and Lane. I don't think that they're particularly great actors, and I don't think that it was a particularly compelling story, but they're competent. They're believable as a couple, believable enough, and I think that they're competent. There's some cool practical effects in here. There is a brain-eating scene that is honestly pretty cool. For a low-budget movie, I thought it was pretty gnarly looking. There's a scene where a chick gets an axe through a head that looked really good. Like, there is some decent practical effects here, especially the creeper's quote-unquote demise. I'm not going to get into specifics, guys, because I don't want to spoil things for you. But obviously, I put demise because, the creeper never dies. So it's not really a spoiler. But there are some cool practical effects here. I wish we would have seen more deaths on screen. Now, that's kind of like a double-edged sword because you can say, well, isn't it cool, though, because it left more to the imagination? Yeah, but I think it was more or less budgetary as to why they didn't show a lot of it. But either way, I do think that we could have used more of that. Other positives, I think they did a really good job of making this Horror Hound Festival feel bigger than it actually was because there really weren't that many people there. But there's a lot of tight shots of it just seems more crowded than it is. It seems louder than it is. And it was, it was nice to see them make that passable. The sound design is really cool, although super bummed out. Another negative, they don't use the original Jeepers Creepers song. I don't know if that's for money, rights, whatever it may be. They do a version of it, so you kind of get the gist of it, but unfortunately, it's just not the same. But the sound design as a whole, there's some cool musical cues and musical pieces in there. There's some cool sound effects in there. There's, especially in the house, I do like that. But another downside to that is the house is super overly lit, especially at night, and it looks very artificial. Although the house was a real set and was really built, and that was really cool, they really kind of overdid it to the point where it almost seems too, it's just kind of fake. And I mean, it is what it is. There's Dee Wallace is in here. And honestly, although she's the best actor that was hired in this movie, I feel like her performance is super overacted. And I'm just not a huge fan of it at all. But it's always nice to see Dee Wallace in here. There are some interesting story turns they take. I guess, we'll wrap this up by saying this is a spoiler. If you guys haven't seen it yet, or you just don't give, or you're going to see it, you don't want to hear spoilers, you better get out now. If you don't care, here we go. So I guess that there's a group of people in this town that basically feed the creeper every time he feeds, and you're led to assume that's because it's almost like protection, I guess. They don't really outright say that's what it's for, but they feed him and they kind of keep him alive, and I'm assuming it's to keep him at bay from them. And Lane is pregnant, and through voiceover and weird, trippy dream sequences, flashbacks, visions, whatever you want to call them, we're led to deduce that the creeper wants her baby because it'll give him immortality. He will never die. This uncorrupted fetus is like a key to him living forever. So it could have been spelled out way better in the movie. It's an interesting idea, but it just doesn't really play because they don't dive into it enough. It's just, oh yeah, kind of, in passing this and that, but we don't really address it. So at the end of the day, it just kind of seems like this weird fever dreamy thing that's just not really all that cool and underdeveloped. But overall, Jeepers Creepers Reborn is a very low budget movie that was really hamstrung by the hand it was dealt. And unfortunately, that is solely due to Victor Salva and what his name did to this franchise. That no big studio or director or anything has taken it seriously since then. So it's a bummer, but at the same time, it's like, we're stuck in this purgatory of getting low-budget Jeepers Creepers movies, and it kind of sucks. But at the end of the day, this movie's better than Jeepers Creepers 3. It just is, because at least to me, there's moments in this movie that are genuinely, fun, and moments where you kind of, chuckle, and moments where you're kind of like, oh, that was cool. I didn't have any of that in Jeepers Creepers 3. Any of that. I think that, I'm not saying either movie is great, but, this is better than that shit. I mean, really. There's some cool night sequences in here. There are some cool practical settings, and decent lighting. One thing I've got to say, Timo Vornsola, we interviewed him on the podcast. He's a great guy, very intelligent. He has an eye for directing. There's some nice, nifty camera work in here. It's HD quality. It looks good. The problem is the story, the budget, some of the acting. But, overall, I walked away from this movie literally just going, it's fine. Whatever. I'll buy it. when it comes out, because I'm sure it's not going to be too expensive. If it's like $30, I probably won't buy it, but it's fine. Like, it's literally what you would expect. It's like if you rewound 20 years and you watched a straight to DVD slasher movie. I mean, that's kind of what this is kind of what that is. I mean, you know what you're signing up for. If you don't want that, feel free to steer clear of it. I'm sure I'm going to get lambasted in the comments from people saying, how can you not say this is utter dog shit? Guys, I didn't say it was good, okay? I didn't say it was terrible. I'm literally just saying whatever. Like, I wasn't even defending it. I was just like, there are some redeemable qualities. There are some really bad qualities. At the end of the day, it's a wash. I mean, the movie happened. It's out there. I wanted to see it. And at the end of the day, I just think it's fine. Whatever. But honestly, what the fuck's gonna happen to this franchise? So anyway, guys, that is my review of Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Comment down below and let me know what you thought of the movie if you have seen it already. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, just so long as you're not a dick, because that's not cool. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a like on this video. Follow me on social media. And yeah, that's gonna do it. So thank you guys so much for watching. This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I am pulling out.